The worst day of traveling in my life. Here are 5 of the craziest things that happened to me during my 34-hour travel day from Tokyo to my 40th country. First, my luggage was 7 kilo overweight. That's 15 pounds and that's my fault. They wanted to charge me $200. I'd rather throw all my luggage away. My check-in bags were already overweight as well, so I managed to take those 15 pounds and put them all over my body by wearing my clothes and shoving my pockets full with skincare and electronics. 2, after I took all these items and put them back in my bags, I looked down at my passport and realized I had lost my tickets, and my check-in counter was already closed, so I was screwed. How the heck am I gonna get on the plane with no ticket? I retraced my steps and luckily found my tickets on the floor about 50 yards behind me. 3, I was wearing my shorts over my pants because of the weight issue, and at some point I realized I lost my shorts. RIP, I really love those shorts. 4, I made the mistake of picking the security line with the security person who sent every bag to be manually checked. We had to wait 20 or 30 minutes for our bags to be checked, and I was this close to missing my flight. But 5, I got the entire road to myself on one flight, so I got to sleep lying down. Here I am in Straya, mate.
I left the US 8 months ago, and something that shocked me is that nobody likes America except for Americans. And even a lot of Americans don't like America. When I learned that people have no interest in visiting the US, I was shocked because I thought, isn't the US one of the best countries in the world? But I think that's what they teach us in the US. People think Americans are loud, disrespectful, unruly, obnoxious, pretentious. One of my European friends said, I typically refuse to hang out with Americans, but you're all right. When Americans come to Japan, they're usually shocked that Japanese people don't speak a lot of English at all. And they'll say, why don't they speak English? But you're coming to someone else's country where they speak their language. Why don't you learn their language if you want to visit their country? For some reason, we also have to measure everything differently. Feet, inches, miles, pounds, Fahrenheit. When everyone else in the world uses meters, kilos, and Celsius.
I just traveled 34 hours from Tokyo to Melbourne, Australia, and I'm out at dinner having my first meal, and look how big this freaking chicken parma is.
This is insane. Why is it so big? It's like 2 palm sizes, maybe 3.
My friend recommended this restaurant, and the line is so long. Universal Italian restaurant.
Look how long this freaking line is.
It's my first time in Australia, and I'm just really overwhelmed, probably because in Japan everything is small and quiet, and now everything here is really big and loud. I also got this Biscoff milkshake with a paper straw. We're not in Japan anymore. It tastes just like Trader Joe's cookie butter. Freaking huge. That's nice. Really good chicken parm. Even the fries are huge.
I tried. The universe is so effed up, and here's why. I was out in Kabukicho with my friends, and then I made eye contact with this guy, and I was like, that guy looks really familiar. And it turns out it was the owner of my pottery studio from California that I used to go to before I left and went to Japan. I thought, what are the chances I would run into you on the streets of Shinjuku when I never even ran into you in California? It made me think about how fucked up the universe is, that the universe is making me run into the people that I don't really need to run into, and not my husband. Like, get your shit together. But this reminds me of one of the weirdest run-ins I've ever had in my life. This whole story starts a while ago when I was in college. I was at a party at UCLA, and I was comparing my hand to this really big guy, and his hand was as big as my face, and I was just in awe. And I saw this Asian guy watching me from afar, and then he came up to me and dusted off my shoulder and said swag. And then he just walked away. I don't know, maybe he wanted me to chase him. I don't freaking know. But I just didn't, and I left the party at some point. After college, I was working in the Bay Area, and I was on a dating app and matched with this guy. The guy who came up to me at the party and dusted off my shoulder. But I don't think he remembered that. We were texting for a while until he eventually asked me to hang out. When we matched, I was living in San Jose, and then when we hung out, I had moved to San Francisco. So we hung out, and then I found out that he was my ex-boyfriend's ex-girlfriend's ex-boyfriend. And I thought, wow, this is dramatic. We hung out like 1 or 2 more times, but he was breadcrumbing me. He was just leading me on. So I stopped responding to him, and he ended up sending me a 5-paragraph text message telling me I was insecure with trust issues while I was at an A$AP Rocky concert. So we stopped talking. The next year, I was in Nob Hill where he lived, and I remembered he had a book that my grandma gave me, and I texted him, I want my book back. He didn't give me my book back, but he asked, do you want to go to the mission to watch me get a tattoo? And I was like, okay, because I had nothing better to do. So we met up, I watched him get his tattoo, which is boring as fuck. And then we went to a Belgian restaurant. I updated him about my dating life and how I was seeing this guy who was treating me really horribly. He told me, you need to work on yourself and build yourself up to be a better person so you can match with someone at that level. So take a break from dating and guys and focus on yourself. And I said, thanks, that's good advice. And then the restaurant closed, and then I invited him to my apartment to watch a movie because I wanted to watch Entourage the movie. Believe me, I had no intention of hooking up with him, but as soon as he got to my apartment, he tried to hook up with me. And I was really confused because I thought, you literally just told me to focus myself, stop dating guys. Why are you trying to get in my pants? And his only response was, oh, I'm horny. And I think that's an excuse a lot of guys do to justify a lot of bad things they do. He ended up leaving, and I was just like, what the heck just happened? The next day I was at therapy telling my therapist about what this guy did, and he texts me saying, sorry, I shouldn't have let that happen. Let that happen? He was the one who instigated it. So I never talked to him again. Until 7 years later, I go to London and I get on the tube. I sit down and I feel someone's eyes on me. So I look over, and who do I see? This guy from San Francisco. I was so shocked, I just laughed and avoided eye contact. But then, because I thought it would be funny and a good story, I messaged him, and turns out he moved to London for work, so we arranged to hang out. We hung out 2 weeks later on my return trip to London, and he ended up being the same that he always was. We ended up going to his apartment and FaceTime my mom, and we didn't hook up, but at the end of the night he kicked me out of his apartment, and I was really drunk, so drunk that I couldn't even figure out how to get to the exit. I was even waiting for the bus, blacked out, which was a horrible idea. I ended up taking a taxi home, got my flight back to the US. He texted me, hey, did you get back to your apartment okay? I'm like, yeah. End of that. We never talked again. So the universe really pissed me off that time, because what was the freaking point of making me run into that guy again? Why? Just make me run into my soulmate already. Stop with these unnecessary run-ins.
I don't understand why people look at me and automatically assume that I like white guys. Only ever dated one white guy in my life. Didn't work out because he would only ever take me to eat burritos, Philly cheesesteaks, cornbread, and Cliff Bars. I'm the kind of girl that likes to eat every type of cuisine. Besides that, he was pretty horrible to me. He lied to me, talked to other girls behind my back, wrote about me on some misogynist alpha male forum, cursed at me. One of the worst things he did out of all the bad things, which there were a few, was on my birthday. I asked this guy if he would go to dinner with me on my birthday, and he agreed. I wasn't expecting anything fancy or expensive. I was just hoping at least he would pick a restaurant that was cute, or I don't know, make a reservation maybe. On the day of my birthday, he texts me around 10-11 a.m. happy birthday. I'm at work typing away, excited to have dinner with him, and at 2 or 3 p.m., about 3 hours before dinner, he texts me, sorry, I'm busy tonight, I can't take you to dinner another time. And I was crushed. You get that feeling where you're just like, your body gets all hot and you just feel bad. Oh, you're busy, okay. My coworker pitied me, so he took me out for a drink in the Mission. I think it was the Black Cat. And then I went home and cried, and I called my mom. And my mom was like, I'll send you some money, go take yourself out to a nice dinner. And I'm like, I can buy myself a nice dinner and I have no appetite. So I just stayed home. I decided to call this guy because I just felt really bad. And he picked up, and in the background was a bunch of clinging and clanging and bang, bang, bang. He says hello, and I say, are you at the gym? And he says, yeah, I'm at the gym. I said, I thought you were busy, so you couldn't take me out for my birthday. He said, yeah, I am busy at the gym. Unfortunately, I did not end things with him there. I was hoping that he would make it up for my birthday, which he did not. I ended up finding out that he was still talking to other girls that he had been with before me, because he was always Snapchatting them, and he lied to me saying they lived in Puerto Rico, and I asked, how do they live in Puerto Rico if you just Venmoed them for fried chicken last month? Then I begged him to stop talking to these girls because it made me feel really bad, and I texted him, I can't sleep, I feel so insecure. He said, you're crazy, I'm breaking up with you. Yeah, I wasted my youth on him.